Welcome to this 10th video in the series on zero-based budgeting and cash flow management using the Managing My Money Excel tool. This tool revolves around the creation and management of a zero-based budget. In this video, I will give a demonstration on how goal tracking can be done within the spreadsheet. Goals touches three different areas of the spreadsheet. The first is obviously the goals sheet. The second is the expense tracking sheet, and the final is the goal tracker report. So if we look at the goals sheet, you have an opportunity to put in longer term goals, medium term goals, and short term, what I call this year's goals. What's important for this sheet is that this year's goals, although I encourage entering longer term and medium term goals because the current year goals should drive you towards the direction of accomplishing your longer term goals. The longer term goals can be a little bit more vague in nature. They don't need to have specific dollar amounts, but the goals for this year definitely need to get down to exact dollar amounts of what you're trying to accomplish. As an example here, I give some longer term goals of financial independence and retirement savings, with medium term goals of paying off all of my debt and having some college savings set aside for the children. With this year's goals of maximizing my 401k match, right? So my company contributes, will match 10% up to a maximum of $300 per month. So if I contribute $300 per month, they will contribute $300, and that will maximize the match to $600 per month, and that's my target. And that goes towards my my retirement savings and financial independence. Second, increasing my emergency fund. So I have an emergency fund, but I want to increase it by an extra $2,000, and that again goes towards my longer-term goal of financial independence. Savings plan for next year major expense. So this, you'll notice, is not going towards one of my longer term or medium term goals, but I do have an expense coming up that I'm going to do maybe next year, and I want to save some money towards it. So that's on my savings plan. And then paying off $4,000 of existing debt. And that goes towards my medium term goal of paying off all my debt. So those are the exact dollar amounts: 600, 2,000, 2,000, 4,000. And that is it for the goals tab. The second of the three areas that it touches is the expenses screen. Now, the expenses screen, we went over this in detail in the video on creating your zero-based budget. So if you have not seen that video, then you can go ahead and review that video for details. It goes over how this whole screen is used. So in this video, I'm just going to focus on the goals that we put in. So when I entered in my expense planning, I'd like to set up a goals group. You don't have to, but it helps me, right? And then I put all of my goals, whether they're debt reduction goals or savings goals, as expenses under those goal groups. And then the key thing here is to then fund them, to be able to say how much money am I going to contribute. Now, this should match, obviously. That's what I did here. When I put these goals down, I put exact dollar amounts I want for the year. And so in my expenses tab, it's very easy. The first thing I did, if you watch the video on my zero-based budgeting, the first expenses and group that I put in was my goals group. I wanted to get these ones in, and then I built the rest of the budget around that. So here's my goals group. I put in a certain amount that I had put on my previous goals tab. They match. But the key thing here is, even putting, just because I put goals as a group name does not mean the system is going to track it as a goal for you. To do the tracking, you need to select is it a savings plan? So 3 of these are savings goals. So I need to put yes for savings plan. And one of these is a debt reduction goal. So I want to put yes for debt reduction. And that will enable the system to track these as goals so I can track progress. The other thing to note on this screen is there's this pre-tax column. So typically goals are going to be things that are going to be funded out of your accounts, right? So money comes in as income, and then you will set aside that money in your expense tracking as an expense. But in some cases, like my 401k match, where that money I never see it as income. It's taken out before my check arrives. It's pulled out by my company to 401k. I never see it. So I put that in as I mark it as a pre-tax. That way the system knows that it's not expecting income to cover that. I'm just tracking expenses that are taken out before I get the income. It won't try to draw off income for that. So once I have my goals set, and then I've set up the funding and flagged them as goals in my expenses, the next step is on the tracking sheet. You have to ensure that you are actually putting in the amount towards those goals. So in this example, I have some sample expenses, and I'll show you what I did here. I'll just filter on the category of goals. That's why I like having that group. I can just filter off of the group name. So I click on the category of goals, and now I can see that I have put in January, February, March, April. I've been tracking the amount that I'm contributing towards my goals, right? So my 401k, my loan reduction, my savings plan, they've all been there. And again, there's two ways to do that. One is manual entry, or the other one is automated import of your transactions. But again, if you're interested in that, please watch one of the videos on importing of transactions from either Teller Money or from Quicken. So once you've been entering in your goal contributions along with all of your other expenses. So again, this isn't just for goals. This sheet is for all of my expenses. I just need to make sure that I've categorized my anything that I'm putting aside towards my savings account or towards my 401k. I'm categorizing it here. Then the last item is on the goal tracker. So if you've been set your goals, you have a target. You've been tracking your goals, so now you know actuals. So on the goal tracker, it will then show you charts that let you see on the top, for example, is the goal views that show all of the blue line is the targets that you set for your goal, each individual goal. Those are the 3 goals that I had. And the gray line here, the flat line, is your target for your debt reduction goal. Then the dashed line going kind of up linearly is the monthly plan that the system kind of generates for you to show, okay, if you're going to reach that goal, here's about how much you need to be setting aside per month to get there. Then the solid line is what you're actually putting towards the goal. So in this example, right now we're at the end of April. So we're right here. It's a flat line because that's future months and I haven't contributed anything. So that means that if I don't contribute anything from now through the end of the year, that's where I'm going to end up. But the plan is for me to continue to contribute for each of these goals. So you can see that, from this chart, I can see that I had a late start on my savings goal. I really didn't save anything in January. And then right around March, January, February, March, I said, oh, I need to start contributing. And so I did some catch-up contributions, right? Whereas my 401k, I've been setting aside, of course, this is pulled from the employer as part of my 401k match, so that one is right on track. My emergency fund, I've basically been every other month I'm making some larger deposits, so they're not necessarily on a monthly basis, but every other month I catch up to my target, and I'll probably keep doing that as I go. My loan reduction, it looks like I started with an initial $500 big payoff towards my debt, but that debt, as you see the trend here, it's slowing down over time. You can kind of see that over here. So when you come to this screen, you should always click the update charts too. That will then pull all the data and make sure that the chart gets updated. And it will also take you, if you look at the bottom or on the goal tracker, by clicking update charts, it'll update the charts. It will also take you to the report screen and pull up a different view of your savings. So this one is a different view that shows a table showing all of your savings contributions. You can see at the top that you've made a total of $5,125 contribution towards your goals year to date, with the split between savings and debt reduction. On the bottom is my savings every month that shows January, February, March, April, how much I've saved. And then this is the accumulated saving over time. Similar, if you click on the view and you click the debt reduction, you can see the debt payments. So again, remember how on the previous chart it showed a big $500 payment up front? That's this one here, $500 in January. But you can see that February, March, April, my contribution towards my debt reduction has been reducing, right? So even though my cumulative has been increasing, my overall has been reducing. But if I look at my goal tracker, I can see that, you know, for the month of starting in May, I'm actually right on track. So for me to continue going though, I'm going to need to contribute more than I have the last couple of months. So that is the kind of a summary of goals, right? Where you set up your goals in the goals tab and you fund them in the expense tab where you set up your zero-based budget. You enter the contributions towards your goals on the tracking tab, and then you go to the forecast and the reports tab to view your progress towards your goals. I hope you found value in what you saw in the demo and what this spreadsheet can do for you. If you did, you can send an email to mmm.expenseplanning@gmail.com for instructions on how to download and use the spreadsheet. A reminder of the prerequisites are that it requires a local version of Microsoft Excel running on Windows 10 operating system.